everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the Macabre Podcast universe. It's the podcast that exists. Please tell us, Jordan.
To prove people wrong when they say sequels are never better than the originals.
That is so true. And we've been covering the Fast and Furious saga, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
And we've covered 6 movies already.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're covering the 7th one, perhaps the most furious of them all.
Yes, and I will say that Mike and I took a little bit of a break between the last one and this one because we needed it.
We were getting a little exhausted, and we were like, man, the series isn't clicking for us, as you loyal listeners have heard. And then all of a sudden, James Wan comes onto the scene, and he directs this movie. I gotta say, I thought it was great.
Yeah, it's my favorite one so
I
far.
was surprised that because I had really kind of had it up to here with the series.
Well, I think like 5 was good, and we were like, finally, it's hitting its stride. And then the next one was just it just was going back to the old stuff, and I think it really broke me down.
Yeah, me too. But, I mean, we can't get into all of that right now. We need to introduce our guest. Yeah, we have a returning guest. It's Brayden Morales. Thank you so much for coming back on. Hello, Brayden.
Hello.
Hello, and you're welcome.
So, I reached out to you a long, long time ago when we were scheduling this. And I said, hey, we're doing Fast and Furious. Do you have any interest? And you chose this movie. What was your thinking behind that?
This is the big one, I think. This is the one, in quotations, this is the one where Paul Walker died during the filming. So,
yeah,
I think it was a big deal. I remember it was a big deal at the time. So it's the one I remember the most. It's the most memorable. So that's really why.
And so, what's your relationship to this series?
It's one where I had no interest in the first 3 or 4.
Okay.
And I kind of got into it halfway through at like 5, because that's where all the action started, in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
Speaking the same language here, then.
So that's where I got into it, and so it's something where when a new one comes out, I don't look forward to it like a Marvel movie or like the upcoming Batman movie, but I'll go see it.
Yeah. Okay.
I would say after watching this one, if I was talking about this with someone who hadn't seen these movies, I would say skip all the first 4, go to 5, skip 6, go to 7.
Yeah.
I would seriously don't waste your time.
That's what I would say so far as well.
Which I know to some of our listeners is probably really
sacrilegious.
devastating. But that's what I would say.
But so I mean, without spoiling everything that we're going to get to as we go along, but I was kind of astounded by, I mean, this is going to hurt for some people, but I am astounded by how much better of a director James Wan is than Justin Lin.
Yeah.
Because this movie just goes, and it is like full throttle the whole time. And if we know one thing about James Wan, he's fantastic at spectacle.
Yeah.
And this movie is just a spectacle, and the characters are so much more economical.
Yep.
And the story is so much more economical. It doesn't get stuck in the weeds of like all of this crap that you don't really care about. It just goes.
Yeah.
And he's so much better.
And maybe it's because it is Paul Walker's last movie, but I really cared. This is like the first time I cared about what happened, and like not even because of that, but just his story was just way more interesting than the other ones to me.
I feel like this was the first time I actually was on board with the character of Brian the whole movie and really invested in his story.
Me too. It took 7 movies. And here we are.
But okay, so let's dive into the plot. Or not the plot, the people who made it. Now, I was thinking about this the other day. James Wan has now entered an elite tier of our podcast, and he's the first director to do it, as far as I can tell. This is going to be the 3rd series that we have covered that has a director in it. That we
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, because James Gunn has done Guardians of the Galaxy, which we've covered, and The Suicide Squad, which we've covered.
Right.
And there's a couple others like that, but James Gunn is the first time where he's
James
done.
Wan.
Oh my gosh, James Wan. He did Insidious, which we covered.
Yep.
Aquaman, and now this one. So he's a
haven't even
three-timer.
gotten to Conjuring.
That's true.
Wow.
Potentially, he could be a 5-timer, but we're probably not ever going to do Saw.
Yeah, I don't know. But that's great. I mean, that's crazy. He's good at his job.
He really is.
And he makes money for studios.
He really does. Are you a James Wan guy? How do you fall on James Wan?
I like his style of directing, especially when it comes to action movies. And he's one of those directors where you give him a big project like Aquaman or one of this one, and he doesn't back down from the challenge, right?
Yeah.
Because some of his other movies are his creations, right? They're kind of his own, but he's also not afraid to jump in to a franchise and kind of put his own spin on it. So I think that's pretty impressive, in my opinion.
Definitely. Absolutely.
But once again, it surprises me, but Chris Morgan is still writing these movies.
It's just wild, and he did a good job.
Yeah, this one, the story actually made sense.
I'm wondering who he's getting help from on some of these movies.
Well, because we have so much knowledge, and of course this is our opinion, folks. If you disagree with us, that's great. We love that. But Chris Morgan has written since 3, I think.
Yeah.
And those stories are not super great. Fast 5 is great.
Mm-hmm.
But 3, 4, and 6, the stories are pretty bad.
Just boring.
And I think that since we have enough data that we can kind of calculate that he probably turned in a decent script and James Wan was able to make it really good. And even if it's just decisions on set, like cut that dialogue or say that a different way.
Yeah.
That's just how good he is.
Yeah, maybe. I'm very confused by him. He's an enigma to me.
Chris?
Yes.
Yeah, he truly is.
I wonder if James Wan had some input in the script.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
On set, he's got to be making a lot of decisions because this one really, it feels like someone else wrote it.
It does, as did the 5th movie.
Yeah.
And that plot, as well as this one, I felt like they were pretty simple. They were easy to follow, and you didn't get that boredom moment because the director's so good. The sequences are good.
Right.
But it made sense. It's wild.
And I do think that the Paul Walker ending and stuff, I was not expecting it to hit me as hard as it wound up hitting me for a character that I haven't really cared about for 6 movies.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I guess I'm sad.
Yeah.
They did a great job on that.
Yeah.
But continuing on, Stephen F. Winden returns for cinematography, and he has with him Mark Spicer. Brian Tyler returns for the music. The movie comes out April 3rd, 2015, and it has a $190 million budget. And in the U.S., it makes $353 million.
Nice.
But worldwide, this is their first $1 billion baby for Fast. It's $1.5 billion.
Wow, man.
That's insane.
Question about what you think about the music, because in past movies you've said that the music's bad.
Yeah.
This is the first time I noticed this is pretty good for me for an action movie. You just don't care.
Well, I think at this point it's okay, Brian Tyler's done as much as he can do with these themes. I feel like we need someone else to come in so they can maybe reinvent something.
Oh yeah,
I never noticed the music in these ones, honestly, or any of Brian Tyler's movies. Let's be real.
I think maybe because the action was just so much. I don't know. Something about it is it's fitting for me. It's cheesy action, but it's not cheesy. I mean, it's crazy, but it's over the
cheesy.
top.
But
the
we
music
like that
feels
cheese.
over the top.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I think his best score in this series is Tokyo Drift still.
Okay.
Because that score really is cool. There's electronic stuff.
Yeah.
I dig that. And then the rest, I mean, if I think he's doing what he can do.
We probably have talked about the music in the series more than anyone else has ever.
That makes sense. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of movies with really great music, so it's like, you got to compare, right?
Gotta compare. And as a musician myself, that I take extra note on that always.
Right.
So, and there's a lot of movies with fantastic action scores, so it can be done. So here we go. Let's get into how this happened. Because I was very curious as to why Justin Lin did not direct this movie.
Yeah.
But basically, they're working on the post-production for Fast 6, and the studio wanted to pretty much immediately start Furious 7. And that would not allow him, in his words, to be able to do a good job on the post-production as well as pre-production for another movie at the same time.
That's interesting if that's true.
Yeah.
Because it's like he's directed so many of these. Doesn't he kind of get like first dibs?
That's what I would think. But then he also said at the time that 6 came out, he said that he felt satisfied with like 6 being his ending.
Okay.
And was like, yeah, that's good. So maybe it's kind of a combo. Like the studio's like, we want to get going.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? This is a good place for me to end my reign.
Does he not direct the other ones?
Well, he comes back for F9.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But we get a little reprieve from Justin Lin. But from what I hear, F9 is not one of the good movies. So I don't know.
Oh, gosh.
Shouldn't have come back.
Uh-oh.
Crazy.
But
the series is so ridiculous.
Just wait.
Yeah.
That's another thing is we've had a lot of guests on this series, and all of them are like, it just gets so crazy, it gets so wild. And I've just been waiting. Like Fast 5 really flirted with crazy. Like that one really amped it up. That felt like a moment.
Yeah.
But this one was the first movie where I was like, this is what I thought this was going to be.
Yeah.
Where a car is jumping from one building to another and then jumping from one building to another after that.
Yeah.
This is what I want.
Yeah.
So if they decide to keep going bigger and better, I think I will be on board for the rest of these.
Yes.
I do think the 9th one crosses a line, though.
Interesting.
It does cross the line.
Okay.
Don't give it away, but I'm sure we'll know what you're talking about.
That's interesting.
Okay. So then on November 30th, Paul Walker dies, 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And his brothers, Caleb and Cody Walker, are stand-ins for the movie.
Okay.
And so they were still in regular production. They weren't even in reshoots or anything like that. So he died while they were just doing the normal shooting.
Yeah.
And so then they put the movie on hold until April 1st.
Okay.
And then they start it back up. That gives them enough chance to not only grieve, but to also make it so that the story makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea if they had to rewrite a lot of things?
I think, I just think it's probably safe to assume that anything that he's not in and that we see the CG is probably rewritten. That's just my guess.
Okay.
I don't think it's dramatic though. I think they just kind of give him his character more of a backseat to some of these scenes.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that towards the end, especially when they were like all overlooking LA.
Yeah.
And like he was obviously CGI to that, and it's like he didn't really have much to say. In that scene.
Yeah. Well, and kind of fun, but they hired Weta Digital, the team that worked on Lord of the Rings and stuff.
And didn't they do Thanos?
Oh yeah, they did do Thanos. Yeah. So
Planet of the Apes, right? The newer ones.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Planet of the Apes as well. So they hired them to work on it. And I think for the most part, looks pretty good.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can tell, but also it's like
too sweet to be concerned about.
And it's not even, I mean, this is kind of a while ago now.
It's 7 years.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I think if anyone kind of has a problem with it, that's kind of messed up. Because obviously they tried really hard to not just
what are you
like
gonna
write
do?
him out.
You gonna get mad at Paul Walker? Like,
yeah.
Well, and what was interesting watching this movie, not having seen it, not knowing the story, is it did actually feel like a pretty natural conclusion to his character arc.
Yeah.
Like when the movie starts and he pulls up to the school and stuff like that, and they're setting up all this stuff about like, you kind of got to move past this. And a lot of those scenes, he was really in those scenes. You could tell. So it was like, oh, they just probably had to maybe like make the ending a little more dramatic, really, to make this hit.
Yeah.
But this was already written.
Well, especially with, what's the wife's name?
Jordana is
well,
her
that's the actress's name. But with her being pregnant again, it's like even more of a reason for him to be done with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and there was that phone call scene where he was saying bye to her.
Her name's Mia.
Mia.
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
And that was a scene where I was like, this, like, especially if this had just happened and you're a huge fan of these series, you're in the theater, that would be such an emotional sequence.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, that's him delivering the lines, though. So this is not like a rewritten scene. This is just in it.
Right. So
it kind of, story-wise, kind of worked out for them in that way. Of course, it's absolutely tragic. I'm not downplaying that element.
Yeah.
But I was shocked to find this out. I couldn't believe this, and this takes me from I like this, like this takes me from I think this is a good movie to I think this is a great movie, because the skyscraping, dropping the car sequence is real.
Skyscraping? Is that what they called it? You mean from the plane?
Yeah. What did I say?
Skydiving.
Skydiving.
Yeah, because there are skyscrapers. And we jump into them.
They were scraping the sky as they were falling.
Yeah.
Yes, they were.
Thank you. That is a real sequence. You can look up footage. I was watching it
I highly recommend looking it up.
Yeah, where they're pushing cars out of planes and then skydivers are jumping after the cars and filming them as they fall. They have parachutes on the cars. They even had some rig so that shot where they're landing on the highway and taking off, like, that's real.
Unbelievable.
I mean, there is CG because they're getting rid of, wires and stuff like that, especially on the landing sequence. But most of that is real.
That's insane.
And, like, the bus crash was real.
While watching the movie, I thought it all looked really good.
Yeah.
And now I know part of it is because it was real.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I don't even care that this is impossible. This is fun. They're having fun finally.
Yeah. But
That's
then you're
crazy.
watching it and you're like, oh, but I guess this is technically possible.
I guess.
Because they did it.
Yeah.
And like, I also was watching, and again, folks, if you doubt me, just look up Furious 7 behind the scenes stunts and just watch a bunch of stuff. There is a sequence, it is a stuntman that does it, but the Paul Walker jump off of the bus is real.
And dangling from it.
And they really did, they went to another location, but they really did throw a bus over a cliff. And so the reason that looks so freaking good when it falls and breaks apart is because that's real footage.
The other one that was really shocking was the same sequence when they're driving down the cliff and that one car smashes into a tree trunk.
Yeah.
That was real.
That was a real shot.
Crazy. Go ahead.
Well, what about the scene where the car tumbles all the way down the mountain and Vin Diesel gets out without even a scratch on him?
I mean, he's
Was
still,
that real?
though. Yeah, of course that would be real. I was wondering, this is just such a dumb thing to think about. And seeing that they actually were like barreling down mountains and crashing cars, I'm like, whose job was it to clean this up?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
how is it possible to get everything?
I don't know.
That's just
a big vacuum.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I was watching the sequence where the cars were flying down those hills in Colorado, I was like, no, there's no way this is real. but it looks so like, how did they do this? Mm-hmm. And then of course, lo and behold, they were just driving down a mountain.
That's so wild.
It's so cool.
That was probably my favorite sequence in the movie. Like from jumping out of the plane to the end of that.
Yeah.
It was all fun.
And even though the end of the movie gets pretty CGI fest, I think, still a lot of that is real. Mm-hmm. Like, they did launch Vin Diesel's car like 50 feet into the air. I mean, now they have to add the helicopter and like comp some stuff, but they're doing it.
Yeah. I love it. This movie was great.
James Wan was playing with Hot Wheels.
Yes, he was.
He was.
The ultimate dream.
But yeah, they claim that only 10% of the sequences in this movie are digital. In Furious 7.
That's a small percentage for how much action there is.
Yeah. So you would have gone to theaters in 2014 and seen Mad Max Fury Road and seen another movie that has very little digital effects.
That movie came out in the same year.
And then the next year you would have gone and seen Furious 7.
Oh, I feel old. That's crazy.
Yeah, Mad Max has been out for a long time.
Dang. Bummer.
Sorry.
That is cool though.
But yeah, that's my notes on Furious 7.
Okay, I only have a few of Fast 7. We have covered Kurt Russell, so I didn't look him up again. I forgot that he was in this movie, that he was in the series. I didn't know he popped up in this one, and when we saw him, very excited.
Oh yeah,
I love that man. But we have Jason Statham, who is well known for Transporter, the Transporter series, The Meg, Crank, and Snatch, among so many other action movies. He was great. I thought he was great.
Yeah.
And then Natalie Emmanuel, who plays like the hacker, Ramsey.
Yeah.
She is also in Game of Thrones, Maze Runner, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, the show, and The Dark Crystal show.
Cool.
And then did we cover Tony Jaa in The Master Z?
We did, but we can refresh.
Just so people know, he was doing all of the awesome martial arts with Brian. He is in Ong Bak, which is a series we will cover one day.
I think after watching this, we said we're covering it this year.
And then he's also in The Protector, Jiu-Jitsu, which is a movie with Nicolas Cage, which I'm sure is kind of funny. And then Monster Hunter.
Yeah, Tony Jaa is incredible.
Yeah, he's great.
I do think I wish he had a little bit bigger part in the movie.
Oh,
as
absolutely.
a character.
Yeah, it's more like a glorified cameo. I don't know.
Yeah,
to me.
Yeah.
He is kind of like having Ronda Rousey in this movie too. It's like, I'm just here to hit people, and it's like, well, he's in it so much, you could have given him a little bit more.
Yeah, and he, it's just a funny thing because you're watching the movie, and if you have a little bit of like martial arts knowledge at all, you're like, no. Paul Walker does not walk away alive from this fight.
Yeah.
I don't care how they stack the odds. Like, Tony Jaa destroys him in like 4 seconds.
It's the same thing with The Rock and Jason Statham. The Rock destroys Jason Statham.
Yeah.
10 times out of 10, let's be real.
It's, but I mean, it's fun.
Oh,
and this movie establishes, I mean, Fast 6 is starting to establish this, but I think in this movie, when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson flies out of the building and lands on top of a car, and he merely has a broken arm and is in the hospital for a little while, it's like, okay, so we've established that all of these characters, including Paul Walker, are Supermen, and they have like invulnerability.
Oh, yeah. Did you see anything else about the feud for this movie?
I think it's beginning to happen, but the articles I was reading are dated later, so I'm going to keep saving it for when those articles came out about the feud between them.
So
yes.
When did the article start coming out? Like, do you have a year?
I think around next episode, Fast 8.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
wait, there's Fast 8 and then Hobbs and Shaw?
Yeah.
Dang it. I thought we had Hobbs and Shaw next. I thought we were like getting near the end.
Nope.
Okay. Interesting.
No, we got that, but I think you might want to hold off on Hobbs and Shaw as you, from what I hear. I don't know, I haven't seen it, but it's not. I hear it's not a good one.
Okay, I'm not saying I was excited to watch it. I just thought we had 2 left.
Yeah, we got 3 left.
Great.
And then we have
Hobbs and Shaw is better than most of these movies.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Hey.
Okay, that gives us hope because we actually are tracking with you more than most people with our coverage of the series.
It was a good action movie, but I won't get into it too much.
Okay. Is it David Leitch that directed that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the action will definitely be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the chemistry between Jason Statham and The Rock is very, very good.
Okay,
that's good to hear.
And Idris Elba's the villain. He's a good villain.
Right.
So.
Oh yeah. In that.
Okay, you're setting up some things I like. Okay. It is funny though when I was watching this movie because my knowledge of these movies is just trailers, and being like Jason Statham is like murdering a lot of innocent people and stuff like that, and I'm like, but he's gonna become like a schlocky buddy with Hobbs, and they're gonna like go on an adventure together.
Well, that is what's funny about every time they introduce a new character that you know is in the rest of the series. That's what I've thought of every time.
Yeah,
it's just like so. Like even when The Rock showed up, and it's like, how does he become part of the team?
But he hasn't like he's not a terrorist.
No, but he doesn't like. They don't like each other.
I know.
So.
They do that with all the characters you'll see, and then, like I said, in Fast 9 they cross a line. So it's just like it ruins the integrity of the previous movies. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I'm nervous.
So we've covered the production. We've covered the actors. Should we get into the plot?
Let's do it.
You think so?
I think so.
Now, already, the movie opens with Shaw in a hospital, and a camera is one shot.
He's looking out the window and having a monologue with his brother who's in a coma.
And it's tracking with him, and he's like, I'm going to get revenge.
Mm-hmm.
And already in this one shot, which it is a fake oneer because there's some like skips, but they make it look like the first like minute of this movie is one shot, which is, first of all, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, I was like, oh, this is already such a James Wan movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then third, I just liked, because these movies are not Ocean's 11, they're not The Godfather, I would like them to be a little simpler than some of the previous plots.
Yeah.
Because that's what style of movie this is. And so when he's just like, hey, I'm going to get revenge, I'm like, oh, finally, I understand a character's motives in this series.
Not only that, I mean, we learned so much about his character right off the bat. We know from the cutscene of the last movie he's pretty ruthless because he's like responsible for Han's death, but whatever. But with this, it's like he's having this monologue where he's like, when we were kids, I always had to finish your fights. I'm going to finish this one too. And then he walks out and there's just bodies littering the hospital. And it's like, okay, he is going to do what he said because he killed all these people just to get to him, his brother.
When they open the doors and the hospital's wrecked, I was like, I guess I'm probably gonna like this one.
I know. Yeah. Strong start.
Yeah. So all of that is already established, and I put this note right after the hospital note. I said, Artie looks better than all the other movies.
It does look really good.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. And then this is when you were like, yes. Because the next scene, Vin Diesel takes Letty to the race wars.
Oh yeah. They're like she still has no memory of anything. BS. And I don't know. She's like, who did I used to be? Oh, boring. But then they go over the mountain and there's all these cars, and I was like, finally, just give us a freaking drag race.
I thought they were done with racing. I thought they moved on to heists.
I know.
Right.
But man, no, there were so many cars there, and Dom's like, we started this.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's go back to our roots, man. Not to say that those movies are great, but it is kind of what you've promised.
Right.
So let's do it.
I think the huge problems you and I have discussed, particularly with Fast 6 and Fast 4, is that they go on these long stretches that are like a half hour where they don't have any action.
Yeah.
And I love that because we paused the movie halfway in at a half hour because I don't remember why. Just for a minute.
Okay, yeah.
And there had already been 3 action sequences by then.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're averaging 1 every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Now I'm in it.
That was my expectation.
So they're at the race wars,
and
she's still not remembering who she is. And Vin's like, keep it under 900 RPM so you can beat this guy.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like, okay.
Vin gets to some low registers in this movie, so low that it is like, I mean, I heard what he said. He actually is still speaking very clearly, but it's like, dang, that guy has the lowest voice. It sounds like he's putting it on.
I know, but that's just his voice.
Yeah.
But there are a few that are low enough that if you're not paying attention, you're going to not know what he said.
Oh my gosh. No.
Or if you don't have a good like speaker, you got to have a subwoofer to watch these movies.
Put the subtitles up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have another great. We're just setting up the character so much better. This is just such a breath of fresh air.
I'll just say Letty wins.
Letty
and
wins.
Everyone's like so happy and everyone knows her, but she doesn't know anybody and she gets really overwhelmed and hits someone.
Yeah.
And I think it is right after that they go to her gravesite.
Yeah.
And she's just like, I don't know who I am. I died. I'm a new person. I have to leave and discover myself.
And Vin's got a sledgehammer with him.
Yeah. I was going to say, don't skip over that. He's trying to destroy her grave with a sledgehammer.
He's going to destroy her grave because it's like, you're not really dead. You're here right now. And she's like, no, I did die. And then she's like, I got to go find myself. And then she leaves and we don't see how she finds herself, what she does to try and find herself. She just comes back when it's time to put a plan together.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of like, guys, you made her like, this is like a big character thing. You're going to make her leave and not show us what she's doing?
How selective is her memory? Because she remembers how to erase.
Yeah.
But she doesn't remember.
I know.
People, I guess.
The memory thing, as anyone who listened to the last episode knows, is one of the dumbest things the series has done.
Oh, absolutely. But I like to think that because Vin Diesel is such a D&D player, I like to think that he went into this movie and they were like, Vin, is there anything in particular that you want to have done in this? And he said, well, I like to imagine that my OC, being Dom has the weapon of a sledgehammer. Because he whips it out of the graveyard. Later, he's about to fight Shaw, and he whips it out again, isn't able to use it. And then finally at the end, it's like, he's rolling the dice, and he's like, okay, I got a D20. I can use my sledgehammer.
It's true.
And where did he get it? Home Depot?
Yeah.
So, then we see Paul Walker, and he arrives at school, and I like how they set up the scene where he's like, shifts into gear and then pulls forward very, very safely, and his son gets out.
Can't figure out the minivan because he's not a minivan guy.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. He's a professional street racer, but he doesn't know the button to open the door.
Yeah, I know that. It's like, this is funny, guys, okay?
Yeah.
He's out of his element. But, yeah.
Hilarious.
But, yeah, that happens.
Yeah, and then...
I remember what happens.
Well, what happens after this, and this is when I'm like, dang, this movie's really going for it. Second action sequence. Well, I guess the first technical action sequence.
Okay.
But The Rock is, he's pushing paper.
And pushing iron, because he's sweaty.
Yeah, very sweaty. I do like when he's in the hospital and they see him with the wrist things.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, brother, this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
And then we see him come back into his office, and Shaw is there, like, downloading the file of the crew so that he can kill them.
Because of his brother.
And then those two guys fight.
Mm-hmm. And you see those as soon as you see those glass walls, like at the beginning of the scene, they're getting smashed.
Yeah. I was looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Juan is doing the, like those twisty shots he does in just about every movie where it's like a character gets thrown and the camera follows them in the same perspective.
I could just watch that all the time. I don't know. It's just...
That's a great action
satisfying.
Yeah. I do think about it often. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good. And then, of course, it made me want to watch Upgrade again.
Yeah.
Because Lee Winnell...
Because it's a Lee Winnell thing, too.
And they're buddies. And Lee Winnell, I think, maybe got it from James. But Upgrade is like this fight scene on steroids, the whole movie.
To me, it's always been a Lee Winnell thing. Because he does it a lot in Invisible Man, too.
Yeah.
No, I don't know a lot. But
you gotta watch that again.
Does it in that. And it just feels like his thing. But James can have it, too. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So they fight. Then Shaw throws a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
and The Rock tackles
the girl from the
translator
fifth movie,
girl,
the translator that never translates anything,
and jumps out of a building. And I want to say it's like 5, 6, 7 stories up. And he twists in the air and lands on a car. And he pretty immediate. I mean, he is hurt, but
I will say it's nice that he's hurt after that, because that's pretty nuts.
But I feel like this establishes...
He shouldn't have survived that, let's be honest.
He shouldn't have survived that, but at least he broke an arm doing it.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Superman.
He got a tiny scratch.
Yeah, I guess the last episode you were on was Man of Steel, and in a way, this is Man of Steel 2.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Just balder.
But, yeah, I just feel like that moment was like I'm going to assume and look at as a point of no return for this series. Him surviving that fall was like, okay, we've done that, so now the characters are invulnerable. They don't die.
It's the same as the last movie is with the tank, and it's the same as Vin flying over to the other side of the freeway to catch Letty.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Yeah. Somehow this scene is actually a little more believable than that one.
It is. But
funny enough.
Yeah, I think Vin does something when Vin's like rolling down the mountain, and I mean, no one's surviving that.
Yeah,
he tells her to put on a helmet, but of course he's not putting on a helmet. You don't cover his face.
He's got a natural helmet.
He's got a natural helmet, but it is like there's no chance of him not surviving because he flew in the last movie.
Yeah.
So no one's worried about his safety.
Wonder Woman didn't fly.
Yeah, she got booted off of that jet in the last movie.
Yep.
She could have flown away, but she didn't.
She got a billing in this movie, and there is one shot of her picture, and that's it. And I don't think Wonder Woman was out yet. So I don't know how she was able... Her manager is a great manager.
I guess, yeah.
Her agent.
Well, maybe they cut stuff. Well, I guess they still wouldn't have put her name on it.
The afterlife scenes.
Yeah, because she got a shared billing with Soon Kang.
And he had like nothing. They reused that scene like for the fourth time of him in the car. But yeah. Interesting.
So another thing is we see Paul Walker at the famous house, and his son throws a car out the window, and Paul Walker goes, "Jack, cars don't fly."
Yep.
Which we're gonna see that disproven twice in this movie.
And on the porch is a package from Japan.
Yes.
And Mia and Vin have a heart-to-heart. She's pregnant again. She has to tell Brian, but Brian, all he can worry about is action stuff. Which, I mean, honestly, is like the most interesting thing with this character for me that I like.
Yeah. Like he misses the bullets.
He misses the bullets. Yeah. But, so Vin gets a call, he gets a call from an unknown number.
Yeah.
That says it's from Tokyo. And he knows what's going to happen. Saves her in time. Crazy, though, that I just liked this touch a lot. Brian slams the van door shut.
Right.
And then the explosion smashes his head into the window and it breaks.
Yeah, that was a good... I like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And so now everybody's got skin in the game.
Yeah.
Already we know what's going to happen in this movie. Thank you. So we're cruising along. The explosion at the house. And now... And I can't believe how satisfying this was. But it was just so nice that we finally close this loop that they've been setting up. And we are now caught up in the timeline of Fast and Furious.
Yeah, that is nice.
Because we find out that this, like this catches up to the drag race where Han dies.
Mm-hmm.
And we even have a, not drag race, but... Or maybe it is. I don't know what they're called.
Race.
10-second cars. Sure. So then we see Vin Diesel talking to Southern Charm Boy from Tokyo Drift. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of nice to see him. I couldn't believe I thought that.
I didn't care. I was just more fascinated by they reused the scene from Tokyo Drift of, hey, this guy wants to race the new DK.
Yeah.
And I thought, that guy looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
Obviously, they were reusing a shot, and then it cuts to him and Vin talking, and it's like, oh, that guy aged in seconds. He looked so much older. And I mean, it's not a true complaint, because what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
The guy's older.
Yeah.
But it was just really funny.
You can't fight time.
Yeah.
Weta could have done something about it.
They could have.
They could have. They
probably had their hands full.
Maybe.
But then they talk, and I just had this feeling where I was like, okay, thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've just been sitting in this weird limbo where every movie Han's like, man, I should really get to Tokyo one of these days. Inexplicably, he never has like a motivation to go there. Nothing. He's just like, I just always wanted to go to Tokyo. Mm-hmm. It's finally like, okay, the chapter is closed. Mm-hmm. Now all the movies can go forward in time.
Yeah.
Although I wouldn't be surprised if like, maybe this is the crossing the line, if like F9 takes place in between the time of like.
Yeah.
But I see he's stone faced. He's not gonna let on. But now we're caught up.
Yeah. And Vin gets back his cross necklace.
Yep.
And a picture of Giselle.
Yeah. And I think it's the Tokyo Drift guy, but someone says, when you find the guy that killed Han, what are you gonna do? Mm-hmm. And Dom says, words haven't even been invented yet.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't understand what he said, so I'm glad you translated.
That's what he said. And then, so now they are able to, they catch up to Shaw, mm-hmm. and they're chasing around the streets, and Vin Diesel and Jason Statham drive on a head-on collision.
Yeah, they play chicken, and neither of them lose?
No.
Yeah.
And that's when he gets out his sledgehammer for the second time.
Yeah.
And I do think he says something, which is just classic like action movie stuff, where he's like, always reinforce your chassis. Where it's like, that's supposed to be the explanation for surviving a car crash.
Oh, I think he notices that Jason Statham had done that to his car.
Just an eye roll for me in a funny way.
Yeah. I think that's what it was. But
the eye roll was him whipping out the sledgehammer. Reminds me of my dog. Every time I come out of the room, he gets his ball. Play.
Yeah, he's ready to play. And then Statham takes out a gun, and he's like, if you really think this is the streets, this isn't the streets anymore, or something like that. He's going to kill him.
And boy, will there be a payoff to that conversation later in this movie.
Sparks will fly.
Foreshadowing.
But then we meet Kurt Russell.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only complaint I have about him is, as we've discussed, he does have Hollywood's greatest head of hair.
One of them, yeah.
And
chin and jaw.
He's kind of
face.
He's kind of slick back.
Yeah.
And it's not showcasing the flowiness that we've come to know and love.
Yeah, but that's okay.
But I believe in the same year you could have seen him as Ego the Living Planet, and he's got some flowy hair in that
beautiful
one.
Hair.
So we're okay.
Yeah.
We're okay.
I was waiting the whole time for him to double cross everybody, because I feel like that's kind of the trope these days. I mean, that's what it was in the last movie.
Yeah.
So, and like Kurt Russell is a smarmy guy, tongue-in-cheek person. So it's like, okay, when is he gonna do something because in the name of the government, or because he's not a good person? And he pretty much was a straight shooter.
I know.
I liked that.
I know. I loved that about it. I thought he was, it was almost like a misdirect that he was just.
I think so too.
Like who he was and who he said he was.
And he is in the other movies?
I believe he's at least in the next movie.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Is he in the next movie?
Mm-hmm.
Is he in the 9th movie?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Briefly, yes.
Okay. Good. He's great. I love Kurt Russell. I don't think I've ever been disappointed by a performance of his that I've seen.
And what's great, so this movie is not that much different than the last movie, where you got The Rock or the Kurt being like, you guys are not the law, but if you want to be, to get your motivations fulfilled, come with me. And for some reason, not for some reason, the script's just better. In this movie, it's like, yeah, I'm fine. When in the last movie, where The Rock is like, work for me on this thing. And it's like, no, why? Like, who cares? Like, to clear their records, they're living in Spain, the Canary Islands. Like, I think they're having a good time. So that it's just so much better in this movie. And of course, like, big motivations for the crew is like, he's trying to hunt them down and kill them all. So they're just trying to stay alive. They're done going to funerals, you know? So, and Kurt's like, well, we can help you get to him if you help us with this other thing.
Right.
And for some, and also it's just good. It did not make the movie feel too long that they had to do this other thing. Because often
it didn't. Well, it helped that it was the best sequence of the series.
That's
so far.
true. Because sometimes it's like you have to do the main thing, but to do the main thing, you got to do the side mission. That's 30 minutes, and it's really boring.
There's the D&D.
Yeah, it's true.
They go deliver a pizza or something.
Yeah.
They should do that in one of these. They have to deliver the pizza in 20 minutes or less, or the person gets their money back.
I think it's 30 minutes or less.
But not for this crew. It's 20. That's why it's so hard.
Okay.
The crew has to capture this device called the God's Eye.
Yeah.
Which can track anyone in the world anywhere.
Yep.
I've seen that before. You know where I've seen that device?
Where?
In Batman, in the Dark Knight series.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's the
Dark Knight Rises. Yeah.
No, it's Dark Knight.
Dark Knight, sorry. The ending of Dark Knight.
What's the joke where he says, oh, so it's basically using sonar and he goes, submarine, Mr. Wayne, like a submarine.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
This made me think of Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is an insane thing that the government is wanting to do, and no one's going to stop them this time.
Yeah. So they have to recover this device, and if they recover the device, then they can use the device to get Shaw.
Yep.
Pretty simple. I'm on board. Mm-hmm. We're good. They have a nice long conversation about how, not a long conversation, but Kurt Russell is like, hey, I have some great Belgian beer back here. Mm-hmm. And Vin's like,
I'm a
what's
Corona man myself.
And then Kurt pulls out a bucket that is positioned like the Corona commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Right off the beach.
Yep, there's probably sand on that bucket.
And that is, as you said, maybe the craziest product placement in a movie ever.
Yeah, and they say Corona several more times, and it's like, Corona is giving this series money to make movies, and they have to say Corona like 6 times.
Yeah. It because it was so over the top, I was like, this is the best.
No, I am like, what creative way are they going to do it next time?
Yeah, like gosh, I hope that like they have to save a Corona factory in Fast 8 or something like that, because
like that's their big thing is Corona's going to go out of business, or they're being threatened by like the cartel. And Vin's like, "Oh, stop it." That's what happens.
Okay, so now and in this conversation, Kurt Russell is basically saying like, you've done racing, you've done heists. And he is not only telling them, but he's telling the audience, now we are spies. This is a spy series now. Mm-hmm. It is no longer those two things. Mm-hmm. And I'm the guy that is setting that apart. Me, Mr. Nobody. We're spies now, okay? Mm-hmm. You guys good with that? Okay, let's go. Now let's drop some cars from the sky.
What did you think of Roman's character in this movie?
That's fine.
Okay.
What did you think? What did you two think?
Which one's Roman?
Tyrese.
Yeah, it wasn't like his most standout, right? Like he was just another. I think they give Ludacris like more shine in this one.
Yeah,
like,
I agree with
more
that.
Cool stuff. You know what I mean?
I felt like with Roman's character in this movie, they were aware that he usually has nothing to do.
Yeah.
So like that scene when he's like, I want to be in charge, and they're like, okay, fine, and he actually doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
It's like, that's fun. That's funny. Yeah. And he has some funny stuff later on, but they're not. It's just like, guys, we know he's funny.
Right.
And he doesn't really do anything to affect the plot.
Right.
That's what I...
No, yeah, he was good. He was good in this. Because I forget that in the next sequence, he suggested that they attack at the certain angle, and then...
The only way to do that would be dropping them in.
Yeah, and he's sitting there, and he's like, guys, I'm not going to go.
Uh-huh.
And then Ludacris is like, sorry, man.
Yeah.
He's like, sorry. Launches a parachute, and he flies out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he is able to help them, like he's he out for most of that sequence, and then he pops up to like save somebody really quick. But yeah, that leads us to the sequence, I think, where and they they do that great sound thing that is almost always effective, where the movie's been so bombastic, so full of sound and music, and then they open those cargo hangar and they push the cars out, and all you hear is as the cars are floating down, and all of our heroes are driving cars in the sky.
You could have added some Nutcracker music as they're falling. That would have been really nice.
And I do like that touch where Tyrese is literally pushing the brakes.
Yeah.
That just felt like such a human thing where it's like, how do I stop this?
Right.
Even though you couldn't.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
True.
And then the cars land, and they're chasing this bus that has the hacker who can get them the bird's eye.
Yeah.
And at some point, the bus flips. I mean, all of the action in this is like 10 out of 10. Awesome.
Cars roll down hills. I like Ludacris's car is the bulletproof one, so they all form behind him so that they can get up to the van or to the bus.
Yeah.
Like, the strategy all is good and makes sense and is clear.
Yeah.
And I don't really get how they did it. And Brian gets in the bus and fights Tony Jaa and gets the hacker out. And she's swinging
I'm sorry.
around.
I'm trying. I'm like reliving it.
Well, even her swinging around on Vin's car, and like seeing that there was a stunt person actually doing that. It is just great. It's stunts at their best.
Well, and it looks like on a lot of those behind the scenes footage. I mean, I don't know for sure. I can't tell this sort of thing, but it looks like the cars are going that fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, a lot of times you slow things down and you're in like the 30s and 40s range, 40s at like the max. But then again, if you angle things certain ways, it can look like someone's going 80, you know. But it doesn't look like they were like speed ramping or like speeding up the film or slowing it down or anything.
Oh, no, it didn't feel like that at all.
I mean, it's crazy.
Well, it's like, I because it's a bus, I mean, how fast could they really be going?
Yeah, well, we know that buses can go 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, we do know that.
Because of speed.
Yes. Yes.
So, fight Tony Jaa. Paul Walker has to free solo on the bus.
Yep.
Run. And of course, the audience that's listening can't see me, but I'm pumping my arms and I'm running across the bus. And then I jump. And inexplicably, Letty knows to drift her car, even though she can't see that someone's on the bus. She drifts it around, and I remember seeing this shot in the trailers where he jumps and then he lands on the fin of her car.
At the time that you saw that, were you just like, ugh?
Yeah, I was like, that's so dumb.
Yeah, and then you and me last night were like, yeah.
I've grown as a person.
Yeah.
In the time of me seeing that trailer and then seeing the movie, I would watch all of the Mission Impossible movies. And now whenever a stunt is real, I'm just like, this is the best thing in the world, and I love it.
Yeah.
So then Dom has the girl, Ramsey.
Yep. And they have to go down the cliff because, they're like
they get
cornered. Yep.
And then they drive down the cliff.
Yep.
And crash like crazy. He just tells her to put on a helmet.
That's all.
She's pretty much fine.
Yep. All that being said, we get to like that's over. They're having a little like reassess what's happening, who she is, what she's doing. She said that she gave the God's Eye to someone else for safekeeping. So they have to go to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Which I was like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, nice locale change.
We find out that the guy that she gave the God's Eye to sold it to someone.
Right.
And I do like that, they're freaking out. He's like, it's okay, it's safe. And it's like, well, what's the bad part? And he's like, it's very safe.
Yeah, that was nice.
Nice little one-liner.
Oh.
But But yeah, they have to go and it's the longest day of the year, and there's this huge party going on.
Yeah.
And they all have to get in and find it.
Did this make you guys want to visit Abu Dhabi?
Oh yeah,
it did.
I would.
What about
love
you?
To go.
I really like the way this is probably my favorite scene in the movie just because of the location.
Yeah,
really liked it.
It made me want to go there, but I said I think I'd only want to go there if I could spend like thousands of dollars because it feels like a place that you have to or you can't do anything.
Most of the time, movies take place in that city. It's like rich.
Yeah. Well, isn't it like the richest place in the world?
It's pretty rich, I think.
Yeah.
Rich enough to hire Ronda Rousey as one of your bodyguards.
I actually did research because I had wanted to go to Abu Dhabi. Because I was interviewing for a company that was headquartered there.
Whoa.
From home. So I think once a year fly you over there.
Whoa.
So I did some research, and it's not as bad as you would think to vacation.
Really?
It's like, I'd say it's like vacationing in a big city in the United States, but a lot nicer and cleaner.
Yeah.
A little more strict, but
yeah,
have a lot of fun there, yeah.
Oh,
well, good to know.
Put it on the list.
Yeah, put it on the list.
It's a more modern city, so there's not a lot of history there.
Right, right.
There's a lot of cool things to do. They have some cool structures and stuff.
Yeah,
big water
would
parks,
love
stuff
to
like
go.
that.
Well, I think this would be a perfect time to plug our Patreon then. Patreon.com/
help us go to Abu Dhabi.
Micah Macaw. If we get, 10,000 patrons, we'll record an episode in Abu Dhabi.
That'll be a tier that people can unlock as funding our vacation to Abu Dhabi.
10,000 patrons.
Okay.
And we'll go to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
And we'll record an episode there.
Okay.
That'd be cool.
Let's do it.
Outside, so you can hear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll even do a video episode. It'll be heck. If we got 10,000 patrons, we'll do that.
Yeah. Sure.
No virtual backgrounds though.
No. So I don't know. In the year like 4,000, we might have 10,000 patrons, and we could do that.
Yeah.
I'll just subscribe 10,000 times. Is that okay?
Hey, works for us. We actually had a moment, and I won't embarrass this person, but I just he'll know who he is. We had a moment where we had a patron, and then he signed up a second time because he just thought his previous patron page wasn't working because he couldn't log in. And I was texting him, and I'm going, "Hey, just so you know,
Dad,
we're happy if you want to subscribe to us twice, but also I just want you to be aware that that's what's happening." He's back down to one.
Yeah, very responsible of you.
refund
I try.
him.
He didn't ask for it. He didn't. I would
didn't
have.
offer.
Maybe he's still waiting.
I would have. He said I'm happy to do it twice, and then the next month he did it.
Okay.
He took it out. So
Okay.
I mean,
that's a little extra
Use it
tip
towards
that
your
month.
trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Use it towards your trip.
yeah, hey, that's $5 going straight to the Abu Dhabi fund. So they're in Abu Dhabi, obviously.
They go to that party.
They go to the party. If I can do one of 2 or 3 complaints in this movie, this is very in the weeds, but I do think on an editing level that the Abu Dhabi sequences, when they're getting ready to, when they show Abu Dhabi, they show the shots and it's like dun 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 dun, and it's just showing all of Abu Dhabi. We see our crew, they talk, and then when it goes to the building, it does the same thing. And then when they go to the party, it does it a third time. And I was like, that's just a little too much.
Yeah. I'd be fine with less.
I just thought it was a little redundant, and that's very nitty gritty.
Yeah.
It is I think it weakens the sequence a little bit.
Yeah.
But then once we're in it, they're at this party, and
Tyrese's job is to distract everybody. Ludacris and Ramsey are trying to hack into the security system to, I think, find where it is. The God's Eye thing.
Yeah.
And then Michelle Rodriguez is looting, or not looting. She's
What
not
is
looting.
she doing?
She's trying to find it. Oh, she also cuts a wire that takes out the security system.
Okay.
So I think that's her role. And then Vin and Brian are supposed to be finding it. So that's when they go to that crazy, crazy car. They find that crazy car.
And Vin just lifts it up.
Nobody's business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, these movies are just to show off him. That's why he makes them. He lifts up the car.
That's what The Rock didn't like.
Seriously, we are gonna be talking about that, I believe, next week. Hopefully, if that's where the button breaks. The button breaks.
Okay, great.
And so they can't find the God's Eye, but they know, they
They
find
know
it.
it's in the car. They just don't know where in the car. That's why they have to drive the car.
So then they drive the car indoors, which I'm going, okay, heck yeah.
Meanwhile, Michelle Rodriguez is fighting guards.
And
Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey.
If I'm saying that right.
I think so. I've heard that.
Yeah.
But the car's driving indoors. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then it jumps.
But it's not enough.
It flies out the window.
It flies out the window. Wait. Jason Statham shows up. And he's starting to shoot at them. And they hit him with the car. He rolls over, all this stuff. They're driving out of the building, and he shoots, a big thing out of the gun at the car. And it, pushes and nudges the car even further forward into the second building. Yeah. I just love that touch. I don't know. That's like cherry on top.
Yeah. And then the car's driving in another building.
Well, because the brakes went out.
And it has to fly into the next building.
But there's only they have less than 10 seconds because Brian figures out where it is.
Yeah.
But they can't stop the car. So he's trying to rip it out of the car and they have to jump out.
It's something that's, I think, charming about this movie, but sort of crazy, is there is no audience surrogate character that's like, holy cow, how did we survive? Paul and Vin just get up and they're like, all right, cool. So let's head back to the U.S. and get started on this.
If anything, the Ramsey character is the most like that.
But she's not.
But she's not there for all of it.
And she's not that amazed by what's happening.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, with what is happening.
No, I know, with what you're referring to, yeah.
The characters are like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
This is a Tuesday for us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, this is what Brian missed, so.
Hobbs is out for pretty much this whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, takes a back seat.
Which makes me think maybe
that's when this stuff is going on.
The
I heard it was I could be wrong, but I thought it was because he had an obligation with WWE during the filming, or there was some kind of.
That would make sense because
I could be wrong.
I'm sure if we looked at his IMDb, even filmography, WWE is peppered throughout, so that's probably true.
And at some point, he's got to shoot the modern classic Skyscraper, and the modern classic Joe. What was the gorilla movie he did?
I forgot
Rampage.
about that movie.
Rampage.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's got to pay the bills.
He is the busiest working actor.
Yeah, he's busy. Too busy, maybe.
Maybe
he should be slightly more specific with what he does.
I don't know. He's an action guy.
Yeah, I know.
So he can make 1 million of those a year.
So then there is the Brian phone call where he's talking to his wife. She tells him she's pregnant. Mm-hmm. Feels very cathartic for him being dead in real life.
He says, "I love you," and she says, "That sounds like goodbye. Say something else."
That's
nice.
well
written, I thought.
Yeah. And then
because this last thing that they're gonna do, it does. Everyone's kind of like, it'll be a miracle if we make it out of this.
Yeah,
pretty much. And so they're back in LA to get it all done.
And Shaw has the device at this point. I can't remember how he got it. Do you remember how he got the device?
Well, they got the device because they infiltrated him at a warehouse, and all of his dudes showed up and guns blazing.
Oh yeah.
And they left it there, which I thought, why do they have it mobilized? That felt kind of silly, unless it's a version of it in a flash drive. But whatever, felt kind of silly. But also, that needs to happen because it's a movie.
Right.
Is it?
No, this is documentary footage, Jordan.
Wow.
Yeah.
We just told you how real some of this stuff is. But so now it's the big final showdown, and there's cars here and there's cars there. It's very hard to describe. I think this was the weakest part of the movie.
Yeah, I think so too. I thought it was still interesting though.
It was still probably better than most of the other stuff.
It was not as long as the last movie. The last sequence of that movie was so freaking long.
Yeah.
So I think that got big points for me.
Yeah. I did have an action fatigue moment. Where I was like, I kind of forgot what's happening.
Well, especially when Ramsey keeps switching cars, and it's like, how many cars is she going to switch into until this is over?
But she does. They do drift. Ludacris and I think Tyrese. Yeah, they drift together
with Brian.
And
she jumps into the other car.
Oh my gosh.
I loved it. It was so ridiculous.
I know. Gosh.
You're not a fan of the jumping drift?
That one.
I need the it doesn't make sense physically stuff.
Yeah. And I like that the guys who have the God's eye don't catch that she switched cars for a while.
I know.
Oh my god.
I know.
But meanwhile, Vin has got a sledgehammer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this time Shaw's got a huge wrench and a pipe, and they are fighting.
Mm-hmm. Sparks fly.
Sparks are flying.
They're hitting the pavement so hard it's breaking up the pavement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was a couple points where I was like, this is pretty intense.
Yeah.
On the fight. Like I just remember Vin dodges and it hits the car and there's a huge dent.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh yikes. You're donezo with a hit like that.
Yeah.
They're fighting for a while.
Mm-hmm. They change and Ramsey gets into a car with Letty. They're driving. The Rock not breaks out. He leaves. He flexes off his cast.
Yeah.
He steals
Superman style.
He steals the ambulance. Well, he tells his daughter, "Gotta go to work." Flexes off the cast, steals an ambulance, knows the precise moment when he needs to jump off of an overpass to land on the drone.
Even though he hasn't been around at all.
Hasn't been around. He just saw it on breaking news. That's all.
And he's like, oh, I know where that drone's going to be.
Yeah. He's probably like, I made LA. I know where everything is and goes. So that's how he found it.
He built it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was pretty cool, actually. I just like that he flexes the cast off.
Yeah, I mean, it's dumb, but fun.
I had heard that he flexes a cast off. So this whole time we've been covering these movies, I've been like, when do we get to a point where it logically makes sense that a character could flex off a cast? Because that's the movie I want to watch.
And this is the movie that it logically makes sense that he would flex off a cast.
And here it is. We're here.
Yeah.
And arrived.
When we're here, we're family.
Well, that's true. That is the promise that they make. Yeah, Vin says earlier, I don't have friends, just family.
Yeah.
So.
And then finally,
Vin sees the bag of grenades, puts it in his car.
Well, this is after he says, when you go up against the streets, the street always wins, and he stomps his foot after there's
smashes.
He does.
Yeah, Hulk smash. And it causes the parking garage to collapse.
Which
now, there's already explosions.
But yeah.
But his stomp is what does it.
Wow. And how did he know that would happen?
Because he made LA and he knows how everything works and goes.
They built it together.
They did.
Yeah. And The Rock.
And so then he jumps his car
and gets the grenades onto the helicopter, and The Rock just knows that he had already been shooting at the helicopter, but he just knows I probably should shoot that bag.
Yeah.
Full of grenades. Does it.
Blows up the helicopter.
Helicopter explodes, and then Vin is passed out, potentially dying. Brian is giving him CPR, and Letty says, "Stop giving him CPR. I have to bring it back with my love."
And my memories.
And my memories. And she's like, I remember everything. I remember us getting married. And I thought, hello? They're married?
Yeah. Did we know they were married?
I don't think so.
I think that was a reveal.
And I don't care.
I mean, that's what's so funny about it is it's like, who needs to know that they got married? I don't know. It's just kind
sweet. It's a private, sweet memory.
Not that it's not sweet. It's just it was just so.
I gotta
random.
say they are an awkward couple. I don't see a lot of chemistry between them. Is that just me?
I agree with that. One thing
natural chemistry.
One thing that is
no chemistry at all.
No, but I do kind of like that. Like I know there was the 5th movie when we thought she was dead. Like he was with that other person, but like I do kind of like from movie 1 they're together. So there's no like I don't know, will they, won't they, the whole freaking time.
I think that's why. That's another reason why in Fast 4 when she dies and he's just like hanging out with other girls and stuff, and then in Fast 5 he has a girlfriend. It's like what?
Yeah. Yeah, because from movie 1, it's like, you guys are soulmates. That's how they're making it feel.
Yeah. I guess maybe they do have chemistry, because I do feel that way. But I don't feel like they actually have chemistry as actors on screen.
I don't know, but she brings
I don't think he has chemistry with his on-screen sister either, Mia. I forget that they're siblings sometimes.
I forget that they're siblings, too.
Yeah.
What does he say when he comes back? He says something funny.
I am Groot?
Yes.
No, she's like,
he says, I am Iron Giant.
Yeah.
And he said something that made us laugh really hard.
Oh, what?
I was hoping you had written it down. But that's okay if you didn't.
Yeah, I don't.
That's okay.
Emily.
Yeah.
Probably.
There was another sequence in that fight, though, before we get to the end, where I think it's Tony Jaa and Paul Walker get onto the door and go down the stairs.
That was fun. That was a good stunt.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he bests Tony.
Yeah.
I'm already forgetting Tony Jaa. And it's like, I guess the only way you could have beaten him is not with martial arts.
Yeah.
So.
And then we have the finale with Paul, really.
Mm-hmm. They're on the beach.
They're on the beach. I think they're drinking Coronas.
Mm-hmm. You think? Come on, Micah.
And then we have Vin's like, I don't need to say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to go.
Mm-hmm.
And he's driving.
Brian catches up to him.
And he says, like, thought you could get away without saying bye. And then they drive off together.
Mm-hmm.
And then they turn. And I think it's sweet. I liked it a lot, actually.
I thought it was sweet, too. That felt like something that maybe was added.
Oh, it definitely was. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know he was CGI'd in that.
Oh, you just mean like the story beat of him going away?
Yes.
I thought it was his ghost, but.
But yeah, I think it's a sweet moment, and I can see why, just on that moment alone, why this movie is like one of the higher rated ones. Because I think we've talked a lot how this movie, at the end of each movie, it tricks you into thinking you liked the movie.
Yeah.
Because it pulls at your heartstrings.
Yeah.
This one is a good movie, and it also tricks you into thinking, I mean, at least for me, it tricked me into thinking that I liked all of these movies. Because I was like, this is awesome.
I didn't feel that way. I felt, that's so sweet for all the people who love the series and love him. That's how I felt. Like, especially with all the actors and stuff in that last moment, it's like, I feel for them who probably felt this scene so hard.
Yeah. And of course it is a very sad thing. And I think it's a nice send-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the song?
I mean, it's not my type of music.
What isn't this the first Fast and Furious movie to be nominated for an Oscar?
Did the song get
because
nominated?
of that song?
Oh, I don't know.
Let me see.
When we put in the DVD for this, it was advertising the soundtrack and was saying #1 soundtrack on iTunes, #1 soundtrack on Shazam. Thought that was funny.
No Oscar noms.
Only Golden Globe.
Hmm.
And Grammy.
And okay, yeah. Isn't that like Charlie Puth or something did it?
Yeah. The first time I heard that song, I was like, oh, that's nice for Paul Walker. The second time, I was like, okay, that's enough, guys. Like, it's super cheesy.
Yeah.
Then the 503rd time, I was like, I got my ears surgically removed. It was just too much. They played that song so much on the radio.
That is how I felt. It's like, oh, this song that I've heard a million times is the big.
I don't think I ever heard it.
Movie. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So this was new for me.
Oh.
Welcome. You'll probably notice it all the time now.
Probably. But this one was good.
This one was great.
And when it showed the footage of him throughout the movies, just him mostly.
It was sweet.
It was. I have to admit, I was like, you can't cry because you haven't been enjoying the series that much. But it got me sort of close.
Oh, wow.
I was kind of close.
Wow.
And so I like this one a lot. This one's the best one, easy.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
I loved it.
We did it.
We finished them all. Wait.
Yeah, that's the end of the series. We don't have to do any more, right?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately there are not 2 more. There are 3 more.
Oh,
with
man.
more to come after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, they're splitting 10 into 2 parts.
I did see that.
The final 2.
I think at the end of 10, my guess is that Shaw is going to snap his fingers and half the population is going to go away.
Yep.
Oh, they're going to do that one.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I got to admit, I'm back on board.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited to watch 8.
Well, I'm not going to say I'm back on board because this series has done me dirty so many times.
Well, yeah.
But I am savoring the moment of enjoying this movie.
Yeah. I'm certainly not looking forward to Justin Lin's return.
My expectations have not risen at all for future movies because
fair enough.
They're mostly not my thing.
Yeah. But this one was great.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, do you have any final thoughts on this one, Brayden?
It's the best you're gonna get with the series. So, it was good. It's a good movie. You know, it's a good mindless action movie. It got some heart, so that makes it better. Some really good action sequences. So yeah, it's pretty much head and shoulders above the rest. You know, and that's why it made so much money. I mean, it was almost a phenomenon compared to the other ones.
Right.
Totally. Yeah. Because the other box office, I mean, are not even close to what this made.
Yeah.
So far, anyway. I don't know about the future movies yet, but I know that Hobbs and Shaw didn't do great.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mix of the whole Paul Walker thing, and then that it was getting good reviews, and so it was a good movie. They hit a good stride with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did it.
Yeah.
We lived our life a quarter mile at a time.
We did. We did.
So, Brayden, what do you got to plug?
Nothing. No, I'm kidding. Go listen to our old episodes. Absolutely Gobsmacked. I've got one episode in the vault I haven't released yet, and we plan on starting up again soon.
Cool.
Once Logan frees up his time. So yeah, let's go. But all of our old episodes are still up. We got like 25 to 30 of them up. So everyone go listen. There's some good ones in there, and hopefully you guys can join us.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yep, for sure.
Cool.
So,
well, yeah, go check out Absolutely Gobsmacked. We'll have a link in our show notes, so if you're like, I don't want to look it up, you just have to scroll
click on it
a little bit.
They're big words, I know.
It's easy. So easy. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Next week, we'll be doing Fast and Furious 8.
Yep.
The Fate of the Furious.
Or Fate of the Furious, yes. I believe
Is
that...
it F8 in the Furious?
Well, that's its stylized, yes.
Okay.
And I believe on Patreon this month, because this is coming out in April, we will have an Oscar special out, and we will have a Speed 2 Cruise Control episode out.
So much extra content.
Yes.
You guys doing Oscar predictions?
We will be doing our Oscar predictions, yes. But I can't say any now. And actually, I haven't given it too much thought yet.
Me neither. No, I got more to watch.
We've just been watching the ones we've missed.
Still got to watch a few, yep.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
Welcome.
You're welcome.